What's going on, guys? I want to talk to you today about using exposure therapy as a way of helping you with your anxiety recovery. If you're ready to kick anxiety to butt, smash that like button. Leave me a comment down below if you've ever tried exposure therapy whenever you're recovering from anxiety. It's a very, very effective tool, so be sure to do that. So, exposure therapy, what is that? Basically, that is exposing yourself to fears, to things that are uncomfortable in attempts to desensitize your reactions to them. This is very, very critical and crucial whenever you're trying to overcome anxiety, because a lot of anxiety comes from fear. I had panic attacks, I had health anxiety, I was scared of dying every single day. Exposure therapy was a big part of that, especially towards the end of my recovery. Now, I didn't know that that was what it was called back then, of course. I thought it was just sucking it up, rubbing some dirt on it, and pushing on and forcing myself to change. But no. It's a nice way of saying that is exposure therapy, which is a term that I later learned about. Now, it is like a form of CBT. It's included in a lot of CBT programs. They encourage it, which, if you don't know what CBT is, it's cognitive behavioral therapy. You can get that paid by going to a therapist or a counselor, mental health professional, or you can do what I did and grind and hustle and find out all the information, the in and outs of CBT, and actually use it on yourself. But a component of it is exposure therapy. Now, I'll give you a few examples on how I used it to overcome my anxiety disorders. But this needs to be used in combination with everything that I preach in my videos: the diet, the exercise, getting your nutrients through vitamins, all the things that I practice and teach you guys. Okay, so in the beginning, the very first thing I did to expose myself to fear, I didn't know it at the time, it was called exposure therapy, but what I did was I made that first appointment to get the reassurance from the doctor. I was having the chest pains for a very long time. I was scared to go to the doctor because I was scared to find out that I had something severely wrong with me. I didn't want to get a death sentence from the doctor. So I gained enough courage, made that appointment, got the tests done, and then they were okay. The tests were fine. They were great results. So it was my first, feat, if you will, that I overcame. My first exposure therapy that I actually used. So that was great. Later on in time, as health anxiety continued to get worse, I was getting over maybe some of the chest issues, but I still needed reassurance about that. I also started to think that I had certain cancers, and it was just one thing after another. I was Googling all the time. My health anxiety just got out of hand, and it was accompanied by 5 to 10 of these horrible panic attacks that I was mistaking for heart attacks every single day. So I knew that I needed to start getting my life together. So one of the things was exercise. So I wanted to start exercising every single day. What was the problem? I thought I had heart disease, right? So I was scared that I was going to drop dead from a heart attack. I had read about all these weird situations where people have done that, but they were from underlying conditions that they had. I had been tested and I've been fine, but I'm not trusting the doctors, right? So I'm terrified to go out there and exercise. So what I had to do was I had to start out small. And this is what I tell everybody at the end of my videos in the comment section. People say, I'm scared to exercise, this and that. You got to start out small. Start out small and work your way into it. That's why exposure therapy is great. You can go at your own pace. Don't get hung up for too long. Eventually, you are going to have to force yourself to go forward whenever you get comfortable. The idea is to keep making yourself feel uncomfortable so you can desensitize those reactions to those fears. So start out the first week by just taking a walk. Then the next week, walk a mile, then a mile and a half, and then 2 miles. The next week, start walking 2 miles, running half a mile, and doing some light weightlifting. You see what I'm doing? I'm building and building and building. You don't have to necessarily build on distance, because that might be a little too time consuming, but you can build on intensity. And you will indeed then start to give your body reassurance that, hey, I'm not dying. Your subconscious starts to work on a new level. It's starting to agree with your conscious mind. And then, wow, voila, you got that connection and things gradually get better. Then all of a sudden your chest ain't as tight whenever you're walking. You're not having these irrational fears because, hey, I've exercised, 3 weeks? 3 weeks, 21 days in a row, and I haven't dropped dead. So that's great reassurance right there. You can use this for if you have a fear of anything. This doesn't just have to be for anxiety disorders. This is why it works so great for anxiety disorders, but this is for any fear that you have. And we have people that are scared of flying. You got to make yourself get on that plane. That's exposure therapy. For me, panic attacks and driving was terrible. I hated to drive because when I hit that 5 to 10 minute mark or 5 to 10 miles, I just started getting these massive panic attacks. I'd have to pull over, chug water, do exercises, call my mom for reassurance that I wasn't dying. She was a nurse, so she got calls from me often. and I probably bugged the crap out of her, but she was very supportive, and I thank her to this day for being there for me because I needed her. But the panic attacks were getting unbelievable, so I had to start driving and exposing myself because I wasn't wanting to go anywhere. A lot of times I was unemployed during that time. I stopped wanting to go out of town or trips, and it was equally as bad as if I, whenever I drove with somebody. If I drove by myself, at least I wasn't embarrassed, and I would pull over. But I would have these panic attacks whenever I drove with someone, and I think the anticipation of having them was much worse when I drove with another person. So I had to start driving. So what I did was I picked a place that wasn't too close. It was at about 10 minutes away, and I would go there. It would be somewhere, obviously, that I enjoy, something that would get me a little excited about going. It was something that brought me peace. I would listen to some easy music, and I just would not do any of the habits that I always had in the car, which was always feeling on my chest, holding under my arm right here, feeling my left arm to check for tingling and numbness, or like constantly right here checking for my heart rate. So I just forced myself not to do that, and I would drive these small distances. Then I would start taking a longer trip and a longer trip. And after a few months of doing this, guys, I was able to drive 2 or 3 hours, no problem. The panic attacks, at least in that department, ceased to exist. So talk about amazing. If you are agoraphobic and you have agoraphobia, a fear of leaving your home, there's more to it than that. It's easier said than done, but you got to get out of the house. So start by getting on your porch, spending a few minutes on the porch every day. Then maybe 30 minutes, then an hour. After that, go out in the yard and do some yard work the next week or a couple weeks after that. Then start taking a walk up and down the street. Gradually, you are exposing yourself to these fears, and guys, it works wonders on your anxiety. There were things like going to the hospital terrified the heck out of me, but I couldn't be selfish. I needed to visit friends and family that were in the hospital. Seeing somebody else suffer really triggered my health anxiety and panic attacks, especially if it was a heart issue. I had an uncle that had a really severe heart condition, and he was young. So whenever I would see him in that situation or go to the hospital whenever he was there, I had to really freaking tough it out, but I wanted to go. Whenever he passed away, I went to the hospital, even though it was a huge trigger for me, especially with his condition. I was there whenever he passed away, and I'm glad that I was able to be there because otherwise I would have been afraid, and just shamefully, cowarded out of doing it. So you can see how this helps you guys. It's crucial to do this, but guys, you got to use everything that you got around you. Remember, while you're doing this, you have to be investigating your root causes, your underlying factors on why you have anxiety in the first place, because until you fix that, you're not going to fix the whole thing. You can manage it quite well with all these other things like I talk about, like you need to make sure that you're eating a plant-based diet and eating healthy. You are what you eat. It helps with brain chemistry and your overall health. That's going to give you reassurance, especially if you have health anxiety. Exercise daily. It's going to give you good feel-good endorphins, and it's going to give you basically it's going to help you with your stress hormones. Always felt amazing, calm, and peaceful after taking cold showers and exercising. For some reason, those two things worked amazing for me. So cold showers, they work on your brain and your neurotransmitters kind of in the same way that an antidepressant does. I have videos on that, so check that out. Aside from that, guys, positive affirmations. You got to think positive. Give yourself positive affirmations every single day. Meditation in the mornings and the evenings, 15 to 30 minutes, guys, is so freaking powerful. It's going to help you with your root causes and underlying factors, discovering those, kind of giving you direction for your day and your life. You can meditate on your goals, your life aspirations, what's working, what's not working. Imagine your life without anxiety every single morning, and eventually that reality, that'll become the reality for you, which is amazing. Follow that up with journaling. Guys, actually, I'm going to put a video at the end of this. It's a review of a journal, meditation journal that I did. It's amazing. The layout is unbelievable. It'll help you learn how to meditate and journal at the same freaking time. And these are two major things I tell you at the end of my videos. So I'm going to put that there. And I'm also going to put the link for that journal in the description below if you want to check that out. Aside from that, guys, multivitamin. Make sure you're taking it. Often our diets are not good enough to get all the nutrients that we need. That might not help you with your anxiety. I have an anxiety store down below. It's got a ton of books on various anxiety disorders and some vitamins as well that I use, recommended products that I used. So thank you so much for that. I hope you have a great day. You just need to be using every avenue that you can. And exposure therapy, guys, is one of the best ones that you can use. So subscribe if you haven't. Hit that notification bell so you can get updates whenever I put my videos out. Make sure to like this video if you got some value. And again, leave me a comment if you've ever tried exposure therapy, guys. I hope this video helped you out. Thank you so much and have a great evening.